College dorms are basically tiny concrete boxes filled with sleep-deprived teenagers. What could possibly go wrong? We tracked down the absolute most unhinged, petty, and ridiculous grievances ever filed with campus housing. From illegal seafood to weaponized alarm clocks, these are the 55 weirdest complaints about university dorms that actually crossed a resident advisor's desk. You will seriously question how some of these people even graduated high school. 1. You generally expect people to outgrow a fear of the dark in college, but one junior filed a formal, written harassment complaint against a teddy bear. His roommate had a large plush bear sitting casually on his desk, and the complaining student swore its lifeless glass eyes were constantly judging his life choices. He demanded the resident advisor officially mandate that the stuffed animal be turned to face the blank wall or blindfolded before lights out every single night. Imagine having a highly serious, mediated conflict resolution meeting over a childhood plush toy. 2. A freshman stormed into the housing office to furiously demand why the cleaning staff had completely ignored his room for an entire month. He presented photos of overflowing trash cans and dirty floors as hard proof of the staff's negligence. The housing director had to gently explain that standard dorms do not come with personal maid service, and he was actually expected to buy a broom. The student was genuinely shocked to learn that his mom was not secretly paying the university to pick up his dirty laundry. 3. We all hate slow internet, but a student in Ohio took it to another level by blaming their terrible connection on a 19th century ghost. The official maintenance request stated that an unseen entity was aggressively downloading large files in the corner of the room, thus hogging the bandwidth. Instead of asking for a router reset, they requested an IT professional, who was also a certified exorcist, to come bless the Ethernet port. No word on if tech support actually brought holy water. 4. Sneaking pets into a dorm is a time-honored tradition, yet one bold biology major actually complained to their resident advisor that the standard-issue dorm carpet was depressing their emotional support lobster. Yes, a lobster. The student argued that the dull gray flooring was severely clashing with the crustacean's natural aura, demanding the university install ocean-themed linoleum immediately. It takes a special kind of confidence to demand interior design changes for your illegal seafood. 5. A disgusted sophomore marched straight to the housing director to report what he called a severe biological hazard. His roommate had developed an incredibly gross habit of clipping his toenails and leaving them neatly lined up on his wooden study desk. There was no trash can issue. The roommate simply liked organizing them into a terrifying little collection while watching television. The complaining student threatened to move into his car if the administration did not force his roommate to clean up his personal keratin museum. 6. Singing in the shower is a classic habit, but one freshman filed a highly detailed noise complaint about his neighbor's terrible musical choices. The issue was not the volume, but the absolute lack of variety. The guy next door was exclusively singing the exact same television commercial jingle for a local car dealership every single morning for 3 straight months. 7. Physics majors usually understand how the world works, which makes this housing complaint beautifully ironic. A science student requested a room transfer because they were convinced the gravity on their top bunk was significantly heavier than on the bottom bunk. They wrote that the university was illegally manipulating the gravitational pull near the ceiling, causing them to struggle when lifting their textbooks. Apparently, blaming Isaac Newton is the new way to get out of doing your homework. 8. Colleges love their campus wildlife, but one terrified freshman demanded the university cut down every single oak tree outside their window. The reason was a specific local squirrel that the student claimed was making unbroken, intimidating eye contact every morning at exactly 7 o'clock. The complaint detailed how the squirrel was clearly judging their life choices and plotting a home invasion. Honestly, dealing with an emotionally abusive rodent was not mentioned anywhere in the university brochure. 9. Roommate boundaries are incredibly important, but one student took it to a structural extreme. A freshman filed a complaint because his roommate spent an entire month meticulously building a solid wall out of empty energy drink cans right down the exact middle of their room. The complaining student was not even mad about the blocked view of the television. He was just furious that the sticky, unwashed aluminum tower smelled heavily of artificial fruit punch and attracted a massive army of fruit flies. 10. You would think living in the designated quiet study hall dorm would be a dream come true. But one senior actually filed a complaint that the silence was too aggressive. They stated the lack of noise was so intense that they could hear their own internal organs functioning, which they found deeply disturbing. Do you think you could handle living in a room so dead silent that your own digestive system becomes a distraction? They eventually requested a transfer to a party floor just to escape the sound of their own heartbeat. 11. One student filed a massive noise complaint against his own roommates for throwing an unauthorized dorm party on a Tuesday night. The resident advisor rushed over expecting chaos, only to discover the real issue. The student was not mad about the noise or the broken rules at all. He was just furious that his roommates refused to let him join the party. Have you ever been so incredibly petty over a rejection that you tried to get your own friends evicted? He literally weaponized the housing rulebook just because he was left off the guest list. 12. Living on the 12th floor usually means dealing with broken elevators, but one sophomore complained that the mechanical humming noise of the elevator shaft was secretly playing jazz. They wrote a 3-page email claiming the university was trying to subliminally program them to like saxophones. Have you ever been so sleep-deprived during finals week that a basic piece of machinery started giving you a private concert? Because this student was absolutely ready to call the cops on a metal box. 13. Waking up for an 8 in the morning lecture is brutal, but one sophomore tried to make it the university's problem. She filed a formal grievance against her resident advisor for failing to knock on her door and physically wake her up every single morning. She argued that since she paid for room and board, basic morning motivation should be included in the price. The administration firmly declined to provide a personalized wake-up service, advising her to just buy an alarm clock like a normal functioning adult. 14. Dorm laundry rooms are a battlefield, but one guy took it straight to the authorities. He filed a formal theft report because his wet clothes were removed from a washing machine and placed on a nearby table. The catch? He had left them sitting in the machine for 3 consecutive days. He demanded the university check the security cameras and expel whoever touched his soggy t-shirts. Instead of a sweeping criminal investigation, he got a stern lecture from the staff on basic laundry etiquette. 15. Parents take dorm complaints to a completely different level. One mother actually called the university housing department to file a serious grievance against her son's randomly assigned roommate. Her issue? The roommate was failing to remind her 19-year-old son to put on a warm jacket before heading out into the winter snow. She firmly believed the roommate was contractually obligated to act as a surrogate mother. The housing staff had to politely explain that babysitting was not part of the standard roommate agreement. 16. You usually hear about roommates who party too much, but one student complained because his roommate was just too academic. The guy filed a request to switch rooms, stating that his roommate's constant studying and perfectly organized desk were creating a toxic environment of unearned guilt. He argued that watching someone do their homework every night was ruining his relaxed college vibe. Would you demand a room transfer just because living with a responsible person made you feel bad about your own terrible grades? 17. Fire drills are always annoying, but one hardcore gamer felt financially victimized by standard safety protocols. When the fire alarm went off due to a burnt bag of popcorn down the hall, this student was forced to abandon a highly competitive online gaming tournament. He later sent an itemized bill to the housing office, demanding the university reimburse his entry fee. He argued that since the fire was not life-threatening, he should have been granted a special exemption to stay inside the building and finish his match. 18. Standard dorm beds are notoriously small, but one freshman believed this was a targeted personal attack. He filed a grievance claiming the twin-sized mattress was completely incompatible with his preferred starfish sleeping position. He demanded the university provide a king-sized bed or allow him to knock down a partition wall to combine two rooms. When told that was physically impossible, he accused the housing department of actively suppressing his nighttime comfort. He eventually just pushed his mattress onto the floor to maximize his spreading potential. 19. One student living in a historic, slightly run-down dorm submitted a maintenance request claiming the bathroom tap water was just too basic. He complained that the cold water was not chilled to a refreshing enough temperature for his extensive morning skincare routine. He seriously asked the maintenance team to install a commercial-grade refrigeration unit directly into the bathroom plumbing. When they obviously refused, he started storing gallons of tap water in the communal fridge, leaving absolutely no room for anyone else's actual food. 20. Sharing appliances can get messy, but this complaint was purely psychological. A sophomore reported their roommate to the housing director for aggressive microwave behavior. Apparently, the roommate would stop the microwave at exactly 1 second, completely avoiding the final beep and never clearing the timer. The complaining student stated this unresolved countdown created a heavy lingering tension in the room that caused severe anxiety. Have you ever lived with someone whose tiny, harmless habits slowly drove you completely insane over the course of a semester? 21. A hungry freshman filed a passionate grievance against the dorm vending machines for not stocking artisan cheeses and organic kombucha. He argued that the standard selection of potato chips and chocolate bars was a direct assault on his refined palate. He actually demanded the housing department replace the regular snack vendor with a high-end grocery supplier. The administration kindly informed him that his $3 budget was not going to secure a personal charcuterie board at 2 in the morning. 22. Roommate disputes often center around sleep schedules, but one guy filed a formal report over an alarm clock standoff. His roommate set 5 different alarms for a morning class and slept through every single one of them. The complaining student was furious, not just because of the noise, but because he was tricked into waking up early and going to his own morning classes. He genuinely asked the resident advisor to ban his roommate from owning any timekeeping devices for the rest of the semester. 23. We all know university bathroom supplies are strictly budget-friendly, but one sophomore treated it like a human rights violation. She filed an official complaint demanding the university upgrade all communal bathrooms to premium 3-ply toilet paper. Her aggressively worded email claimed the industrial-grade paper was causing severe emotional distress and ruining her college experience. 24. A film major sent an angry maintenance request because his dorm room window only opened a few inches. He was not worried about fresh air at all. Instead, he was furious that the safety latch prevented him from launching his expensive camera drone directly from his bed. He accused the university of stifling his creative freedom and demanded they remove the safety locks immediately. The housing office strongly advised him to just walk outside like everyone else. 25. In an incredible display of helpless panic, a freshman called campus security at midnight, claiming his roommate had taken him hostage. Officers rushed to the dorm room only to find the door locked from the inside. The roommate had simply gone to sleep and locked the deadbolt, and the complaining student completely forgot how to manually turn a lock to get out. He literally reported a kidnapping because he was too lazy to twist a piece of metal on his own door. 26. Living with communal bathrooms is a classic college struggle, but one aspiring social media star demanded a totally private facility. She filed a grievance stating that the fluorescent lighting over the shared sinks was making her skin look terrible on camera. She insisted the university build her a custom bathroom with ring lights and marble countertops. The housing director had to break the news that having 2,000 followers did not qualify her for a luxury renovation. 27. Helicopter parenting reached a new peak when a furious dad called the housing authority because his daughter had to walk 10 minutes to her biology class. He demanded that the university either relocate her dorm closer to the science building or just move the entire biology department into the lobby of her residence hall. The administration politely explained that they could not uproot a multi-million-dollar research facility just because his teenager hated walking in the rain. 28. It is normal to get annoyed by a loud chewer, but one student took his frustration to an architectural level. He filed a formal request for the university to install soundproof acoustic foam down the exact middle of his shared room. He claimed his roommate chewed cereal with such immense power that it was disrupting his peace. When the university refused to divide the tiny room into 2 soundproof chambers, he started wearing construction-grade earmuffs to breakfast. 29. A resident advisor received an anonymous complaint about a terrible lingering odor in the hallway that smelled heavily of cheap cologne and incense. After conducting a thorough investigation of the entire floor, the staff traced the overwhelming scent back to the exact room of the person who filed the complaint. The student had genuinely become nose-blind to his own aggressive body spray and reported himself to the authorities. Talk about a self-inflicted housing violation. 30. Standard dorm showers are notoriously cramped, which prompted one freshman to demand the installation of a full-sized clawfoot bathtub. He filed a medical grievance claiming that standing up in the shower was too exhausting after a long day of playing video games. He argued that soaking in a bubble bath was a necessary medical accommodation for his minor back soreness. Would you ever have the absolute nerve to demand a spa treatment facility in a cinderblock college building? 31. A freshman furiously reported a phantom thief who kept stealing his leftover pepperoni pizza in the middle of the night. He confidently demanded the housing office dust his mini fridge for fingerprints, interview the entire floor, and review the hallway security cameras immediately. The grand criminal investigation was instantly closed when the resident advisor found a greasy trail of pepperoni slices leading directly into the complaining student's own bedsheets. He had literally been sleep-eating his own late-night snacks and actually tried to frame his perfectly innocent roommate for the crime. 32. We all know hardcore gamers love their expensive gear, but one sophomore filed a massive noise violation because his roommate bought an ultra-loud mechanical keyboard. The official complaint stated the aggressive, rapid-fire clicking sounded exactly like a caffeinated courtroom stenographer having a full-blown panic attack. Instead of just buying cheap earplugs, the student demanded the university physically confiscate the keyboard and force his roommate to type all future history essays on a silent touchscreen tablet. Honestly, have you ever wanted to smash a roommate's electronics just to get 5 minutes of absolute peace and quiet? 33. One completely sheltered freshman submitted a furious maintenance ticket claiming the basement dorm washing machines were fundamentally broken and destroying his wardrobe. Why? Because after the final spin cycle finished, his clothes were still a tangled, damp mess. He genuinely believed that commercial college washing machines were supposed to automatically dry, neatly fold, and stack his laundry into perfect little piles. The housing staff had the absolute joy of looking this 18-year-old adult in the eye and explaining that magic simply does not exist in a cinderblock laundry room. 34. Roommate conflicts get incredibly weird, but this one is pure psychological comedy. A student marched right into the housing office to demand an immediate emergency room transfer simply because his roommate slept in blue jeans. There was no noise issue, no smell, and no mess, but the complaining student argued that sleeping in heavy denim was absolute sociopathic behavior that threatened his safety. He claimed he could not close his eyes peacefully, knowing a guy fully zipped into Levi's was resting just 3 feet away. It sounds crazy, but you have to admit that is deeply unsettling. 35. Communal college bathrooms are notoriously tough on your self-esteem, but one girl took her reflection straight to the administration. She filed a fiery grievance demanding the university completely replace every single mirror on her floor because they were highly unflattering. Her official complaint stated the harsh fluorescent ceiling lighting and cheap warped glass were actively sabotaging her morning confidence and impacting her academic performance. She confidently requested high-definition Hollywood-style vanity mirrors with soft ring lights be installed immediately, entirely at the university's expense. 36. Parents usually complain about wild campus parties, but one incredibly angry mother actually called the resident director to complain about the campus library. She was completely furious that her son's assigned freshman dorm was located right next to the main study center. She aggressively argued the close proximity was turning her child into a giant nerd and demanded he be moved closer to the rowdy fraternity houses to drastically improve his networking skills. The university politely declined to relocate a paying student just to force him to party more often. 37. A freshman at a prestigious East Coast college filed a formal grievance demanding the housing department physically rotate their entire brick dormitory. Why? Because the morning sun was hitting their window at a slightly aggressive angle and ruining their REM sleep cycle. The student completely ignored the existence of blinds or curtains, arguing instead that the university administration had a moral obligation to defy the laws of physics and reorient the foundation of a 60-year-old building. 38. Resident advisors love decorating dorm room doors with cute, colorful name tags to welcome new students. But one graphic design major felt personally attacked. He submitted a multi-paragraph, deeply emotional grievance because his resident advisor wrote his name using the Comic Sans font. He argued that forcing a visual arts major to look at such a fundamentally terrible, unprofessional typeface every single day was a literal form of psychological torture. He actually refused to enter his own assigned room until the name tag was completely destroyed and reprinted in Helvetica. 39. A sophomore filed a highly detailed complaint demanding the university legally ban all local pizza deliveries to his specific building. The bizarre request had absolutely nothing to do with campus security or safety. He simply stated that smelling hot buttery garlic bread in the hallway while he was eating a sad dining hall salad was too emotionally devastating for his mental health. He basically wanted a campus-wide ban on delicious food just because he lacked basic dietary willpower. Would you ever try to ruin late-night snacks for an entire building just because you were on a strict diet? 40. During the absolute peak of finals week, a stressed-out freshman sent an urgent email to his resident advisor with a long list of daily household chores. He then filed a formal complaint with the dean when the advisor flat-out refused to bring him a hot breakfast in bed and organize his messy biology study notes. The student genuinely thought a resident advisor was basically a live-in butler provided by his parents' tuition fees. The housing director had to send a very blunt, highly professional reply, clarifying that university staff members are not personal servants. 41. A junior filed a furious noise complaint because his roommate insisted on blow-drying his mattress every single night before sleep. The guy claimed he needed his sheets to feel fresh out of the dryer, completely ignoring the fact that his industrial hairdryer sounded exactly like a commercial jet engine at midnight. The complaining student was absolutely losing his mind, forced to wear heavy noise-canceling headphones just to survive the nightly runway takeoff. Have you ever dealt with a roommate whose bedtime routine required actual power tools? 42. Sharing a mini fridge is a delicate dance, but one sophomore reported his roommate for severe psychological intimidation over basic groceries. The complaining student stated his roommate was aggressively using a permanent marker to label absolutely everything in the room, including individual grapes and single slices of white bread. The final straw was when the roommate actually carved his initials into a stick of butter. The housing office had to sit them down and explain that claiming ownership of communal tap water is not normal behavior. 43. A freezing freshman submitted a desperate grievance against her roommate for treating their shared room like an Arctic base camp. The roommate absolutely refused to close the third-floor window during a brutal January blizzard, casually claiming she needed the crisp air for her skin complexion. The complaining student was literally sleeping in a heavy winter parka, gloves, and a beanie just to survive the night. She begged the resident advisor to intervene before she developed actual frostbite right next to her calculus textbook. 44. A completely exhausted student filed a safety violation because his tiny dorm room had mysteriously turned into a sweaty, 90-degree sauna by late October. He thought the building's heating system was broken, but the maintenance team quickly discovered the real issue. His roommate had secretly installed a massive, wildly illegal cryptocurrency mining rig directly inside his closet. The heavy-duty computer servers were sucking up the university's free electricity and generating enough heat to slow-roast a turkey. Would you snitch on your roommate if their secret side hustle was literally cooking you alive? 45. We all hate loud morning alarms, but one junior filed a formal complaint over a purely visual morning assault. His roommate purchased an extreme sunrise simulator alarm clock designed to perfectly mimic the actual sun coming up. The major problem was that the aggressively bright LED light would trigger at 5 in the morning, illuminating the tiny pitch-black room like a literal nuclear flash. The complaining student argued he was being flashbanged in his sleep every single day and demanded the university ban all artificial indoor suns. 46. Helicopter parenting struck again when an incredibly angry father called the housing department to report the resident advisor for gross negligence. The dad was completely outraged that the staff had not enforced a strict 9 o'clock bedtime for his 20-year-old son. He firmly argued the university was actively promoting nocturnal delinquency by allowing college students to stay up late, study, and eat pizza. The housing director had to very delicately explain that they run a higher education facility, not a strict medieval boarding school. 47. Roommate conflicts are bound to happen when two strangers share a shoebox, but one formal complaint focused entirely on the speed of a roommate's eyelids. The aggrieved student claimed their roommate blinked with too much hostility, creating an uncomfortable and threatening environment. They specified that the blinking was not loud, just visually aggressive and heavily judgmental. Imagine sitting in complete silence, trying to study for chemistry, while feeling violently attacked by someone just keeping their eyes moist. 48. Dorm laundry rooms are absolutely ruthless, but one girl filed an official grievance after catching a repeat offender aggressively hogging the machines. She discovered that a guy on her floor was using an entire commercial washing machine to clean exactly one single athletic sock every single afternoon. He boldly claimed his lucky gym sock needed a private wash cycle to maintain its structural integrity. She furiously demanded the housing office revoke his laundry privileges for wasting 50 gallons of hot water on a cheap piece of cotton. 49. Winter in a poorly insulated dorm is brutal, but one student complained that their radiator was roasting them alive like a rotisserie chicken. The resident advisor simply suggested turning the heat down, to which the student furiously replied that touching the dial meant surrendering to the winter weather. They demanded the university somehow cool the room without lowering the heat, because they flat out refused to let the cold weather win a psychological battle against their thermostat. 50. A highly disturbed senior sent an urgent late-night email asking to be relocated immediately due to severe roommate creepiness. The formal complaint stated that his roommate loved watching intense horror movies in the dark with noise-canceling headphones on. The terrifying part was that the roommate would physically spin his desk chair around and just silently stare directly at the complaining student during all the major jump scares. Have you ever been so thoroughly creeped out by someone just sitting quietly that you tried to instantly break your housing contract? 51. A terrified freshman filed a severe emotional distress complaint against a life-size cardboard cutout of actor Danny DeVito. His roommate had placed the giant cardboard figure right next to the window, and the streetlights cast a horrifying, looming shadow across the room every single night. The complaining student stated he was incredibly tired of waking up at 3 in the morning to the terrifying silhouette of a tiny celebrity staring directly into his soul. 52. Parents usually complain about poor living conditions, but one angry mother actually threatened to sue the university because the dining hall pizza was just too delicious. She filed a formal grievance blaming the housing department for her daughter gaining the classic freshman 15 pounds. The mom literally demanded the campus chefs intentionally ruin the taste of the pepperoni slices to force her child to eat more vegetables instead of carbs. 53. Roommate disputes over shared space are common, but one guy took it to a completely molecular level. He filed an urgent safety hazard report, claiming his roommate was actively stealing his oxygen. The roommate had simply purchased a heavy-duty air purifier for his seasonal allergies. but the complaining student firmly believed the machine was illegally sucking all the breathable air from his side of the room. Would you ever accuse your roommate of hoarding actual oxygen? 54. A deeply unsettled sophomore marched right into the housing office demanding an immediate emergency room transfer because his roommate sleep-talked in complex calculus equations. The complaining student was an art history major and found the rapid, midnight whispering of advanced math formulas to be extremely aggressive and borderline demonic. He confidently argued that being legally forced to listen to algebra in his sleep was a cruel and unusual punishment. 55. Many colleges allow therapy dogs on campus during finals week to lower stress, but one highly offended senior filed a formal complaint against a golden retriever. The student claimed the dog was entirely too affectionate and its wagging tail was a severe academic distraction. He actually requested the university issue a strict 10-foot restraining order against the extremely happy animal. Imagine being so utterly miserable that you try to legally ban a therapy dog. After 55 completely unhinged dorm complaints, it is a miracle resident advisors do not just quit on day one. College housing is a literal cage match of petty drama. Now I need the truth from you. What is the most psychotic, unforgivable thing a roommate has ever done to you, and exactly how did you get revenge? Expose them in the comments right now. I want to read the absolute worst stories. Hit that like button and subscribe if you want more unbelievable real-life chaos.